It's one of the 2 fastest tracks on the whole NASCAR circuit.
We will see 2 3-wide racing.
It's a 1.5-mile racetrack, but it's a mile of turns. The poor right side tires, they never get a break.
I think we indeed are setting up for a very exciting race this afternoon.
Welcome once again, race fans, to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we are getting set for Sprint Cup Series qualifying with 2 to go. Till the chase, we have 46 cars going for 43 spots under bright sunny skies, and that means the speeds have come down significantly from the early morning practice sessions, but nonetheless, what you can turn in a lap out on this racetrack. And let's now go down to Hermie Sadler, who is standing by on the grid. Hermie?
Yeah, standing by with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, kind of a reversal of times here. Normally we qualify at night, racing today, and now we're qualifying in the daytime, racing at night. How do you adjust your mindset? Because this is a place you really got to be ready to go fast as a driver.
Yeah, well, I guess tomorrow we'll get into the fact the track will be so much cooler and how the car handles there. But for right now, we practiced earlier today, not long ago, working on qualifying runs. So everything top of my mind right now is just kind of on the qualifying stuff. And we should be decent. This draw is not going to be helpful for us, but I think we've got a strong enough car we can lay down a good lap, and hopefully we'll stay somewhere up there in the top 10. But these guys have been working real hard. Very proud of the Scobalt Chevrolet, and looking forward to giving the employee owners at Lowe's something to root for.
You get this question a lot at different kind of racetracks. This is a racetrack you can pass at, but still qualifying up front and not having to abuse your race car in the first part of a 500-mile race will be very important for you guys.
Yeah, it would be, and this track is there's a lot of lanes, but to pass someone, you almost need the whole racetrack just by yourself on old tires here, because the cars move around so much, and you can pass guys, but track position is so important that great qualifying efforts needed, and hopefully we can get that going today.
Well, Jimmy Johnson already definitely locked into the chase, but he would like to get 10 more bonus points before they lock this thing in a couple of weeks, JR.
Hermie, thanks a lot. The last time we raced here, it was Kurt Busch, another one of the championship contenders, that logged 10 bonus points by getting Roger Penske back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway's victory lane after a long winless drought.
Today, Atlanta Motor Speedway will drop the green flag for the 100th time as the Sprint Cup Series will do battle. We're already seeing these cars use every inch of the racetrack.
And I'm trying everything all over. I've had a good group. I move around. It's just not easy out here.
Not saying it is, man. I wouldn't want your job.
Carl Edwards now the race leader.
You are the leader, buddy. You are the leader.
Kurt Busch has come back to life.
Sorry about that, guys. It's all right, man. You're driving your ass off, man. Doing an awesome job.
The green flag is out. Carl Edwards gets a jump on Kurt Busch.
Just a little bit tighter around the center on the bottom.
We've got a tussle. We've got a fight. We've got a war. Your new leader is Kurt Busch in turn 4. The drag race to the checkered flag will be won by Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge.
You're the man, buddy. Good job, guys. Good job.
Woo-hoo-hoo! I believe it's time to play some beer!
Here are the numbers that really matter right now as we head into just 2 races to go before the cutoff for the chase for the Sprint Cup. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon are mathematically locked in to this year's chase, and between them you're looking at 9 championships up there on the screen. So those are definitely favorites, not only to win this race, but also to win the championship as well. A little bit further back in the field, these guys are not locked in, but they are pretty much realistically in as of right now, especially if Kurt Busch can repeat what he did last time we raced here in Atlanta. Here is the danger zone. Let's take a look at who is in and who is out right now. Flying Ryan Newman was fastest in the final practice session. Look for him as a threat to get another pole here. He is 84 points to the good. Kyle Busch 34 to the bad right now, but that's not all that bad, because with a win at Bristol 2 weeks ago, Kyle Busch was able to move up 2 spots. With that in mind, let's head back inside, check back in with Hermie Sadler.
Well, standing by with Casey Mears lining up for qualifying. Who's in charge of the drawing for RCR? You guys are, at the front of the pack here, right up front. In Atlanta, that may not be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right now with the time that we're qualifying, I think later is going to be better. But, we're team players. We want to stick together, and that's what we're trying to do. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Practice was a little bit confusing just because it was shaded, and then it started getting hot. Some guys ran their good laps early, and then guys were slowing down, and some guys ran halfway decent. So we're trying to figure out exactly, where we stand and all that based on when we made our qualifying runs and what happened. But I think we got a pretty good Jack Daniels Chevrolet. I'm looking forward to qualifying where everything's on a little bit more even playing field and more consistent, so we can really find out where we're at.
And this is the kind of place, as a driver, you got to be mentally knowing when you leave this pit road, you got to go hammer down. This is a place a driver can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a fast track, you know, and it's very easy to overstep your bounds a little bit, and it's very easy not to get quite enough, you know. So with the temperature changing like it is, and the track grip changing, it's tough to hit a lap right around here. But I think at least the tail end of practice was fairly warm. It hasn't changed a whole lot now, so hopefully it's consistent for us.
These guys getting ready to go on the racetrack, JR. Qualifying coming up next. Should be a very interesting qualifying session here at Atlanta.
It's time for qualifying for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. 46 teams for 43 positions. Ryan Newman was the fastest in the final practice just a while ago here on speed.
There's a man there was pretty fast in Nationwide Series qualifying. He'll start on the outside of the front row, Kevin Harvick.
Here's a look, Johnny Andretti, the first driver out, followed by Jimmy Johnson, Reed Sorensen, 43 car. Then you see Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton. Casey Mears just behind him.
And Larry, you talked about this earlier. Richard Childers Racing, they wound up kind of like having the bad luck today. All their cars, 3 out of the 4, are going to be going out real early. And Casey Kane, and folks, if you weren't with us for the nationwide qualifying, I think he had one of the greatest saves of the afternoon as far as qualifying is concerned. He had a good qualifying lap, but that car was bad loose.
And you know, guys, truthfully, there are some racetracks where qualifying doesn't have that big of an impact on the race. But here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, 100 races we've had here in Sprint Cup competition, 79 have been won from a top 10 starting spot.
And I think that's just because, as I said earlier, you know, when you're fast in qualifying, you tend to stay fast in the race. In fact, 25 of those 100 races from the front row, the top 2 starting spots. So it is a track you can pass on, but I think when you can start up front, it just makes things a lot easier for the entire 500 miles.
Just 2 races left to get into the championship scenario. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon have clinched.
And the magic number when we leave here on Sunday night will be 162. If you're 162 points inside the top 12, then you know that you will make the chase for the 2009 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to know who's going to be in or who's going to be out until they drop the checkered flag in Richmond next week, and it's going to be a hard-fought battle. And I think starting here for qualifying will set the tone for a lot of that as John Andretti, our first car, is on the Speedway, Steve.
As we said, 46 teams here for 43 positions. They race under the lights here tomorrow night.
You know, this car here with John Andretti, the 34 car, of course, had a few other drivers in it back the month of May when John was doing the Indianapolis 500 deal. This car has fought and stayed in the top 35 and owner points all year long. But with the runs that 82 car of Scott Speed's been having here lately, right now they only have a 115-point cushion inside the top 35. So they need to step it up just a little bit if they want to stay there and be there when the checkered flag waves at Homestead in 12 races. John has won Sprint Cup Series pole here back in the day, but he was 43rd quickest in the couple of practice sessions we had earlier. 2 90-minute sessions. This is that modified impound procedure where 2 practice sessions, they'll qualify right now. They get the cars back. They get to work on them, but no more practice before the race. And I think we'll see this a lot, one and done.
One and done, exactly right.
Let's go to Wendy.
Denny Hamlin getting ready to get into his car for this qualifying effort. 31st in happy hour, but you were 4th in that first practice session. How well is your car going to qualify for today?
We typically don't qualify too well, and that was the kind of balance that we had. We felt like we were close in race trim, but we ran out of set of tires. So it's going to be tough to see where we end up, but our Farm Bureau insurance car was okay for the most part all today, but we need to work on a little bit. Qualifying is kind of a crapshoot. We can be top 5 or we can be 30th or worse. You never know with us. It kind of goes back and forth.
Good luck to Denny Hamlin, and I asked him if he got any leads on his personal vehicle that was stolen right off of his driveway. He said no. What are you going to do? Poor guy. That stinks.
Yes, it does, Wendy. Right out of his driveway. Well, Jimmy Johnson is a 3-time winner here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's never snagged a pole position, but he was fast in practice.
He started 7th here in the spring and finished up tonight.
And he'll be one and done, but he goes to the top of the charts at a 30.23. It's quite a bit quicker than he ran in that practice session, about 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, Larry, and I think that, we need to make sure we go ahead and kind of set the stage for this. When Ryan Newman and that final practice was going on, we saw sunshine on this racetrack. And you've talked about it during all the practices today. This is a very sensitive racetrack when it comes to the heat. So when the sun was out that final practice, a lot of guys, I think, really struggled getting grip. We only really saw 1 or 2 cars that really looked quick. Mark Martin most notably, but even though Ryan showed the fastest time, I think he struggled late in that practice. And I think we'll see the speeds come down again. And I won't be one bit surprised to see him get over possibly in the 29-second bracket before we get done here during this qualifying effort.
Yeah, I don't know that it made a difference during Nationwide Series qualifying because of the time of the day, but I definitely think a late draw in this session will pay off.
Guys, we always talk in terms of seconds. Jimmy Johnson just ran a 30.23. In the garage, they just say he ran a 23. But to give you an idea of how fast that is, that's over 183 miles per hour.
Average. Reed Sorensen was 33rd quickest in practice from nearby Peachtree City, Georgia. And right now he's second at a 30.48. They're able to run 2 laps, but with the tire package we have here, with the loss of grip, the more you go, the more it's going to slide around.
We'll take a break here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Sprint Cup Series qualifying continues. Jimmy Johnson is the quickest. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on speed is presented by Subway. Scrabble at Subway is back. So many chances to win, so many great prizes. Play Scrabble at Subway, where winners eat. And brought to you in part by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Drunk driving, over the limit, under arrest. Kevin Harvick in the Pennzoil Chevrolet for RCR Racing, the 4th driver to qualify.
Kind of a big announcement this week right here between Kevin Harvick and Richard Childress. It kind of dispelled all the rumors that Kevin was getting ready to move on. I know that things weren't what he was hoping for it to be this year, but Richard Childress made some changes over there, and these guys have agreed that they will be back together in 2010 with Pennzoil as a sponsor.
Kevin ends up 3rd quickest at a 30.56. Wendy.
Well, Greg Biffle is down here on the grid, but Greg, your car is not. You're 4 cars away from going. What's the situation?
Well, I think they just had to go back through again. If everything's not perfect, NASCAR will make you go back around and tweak on it a little bit. So, don't know what part of it didn't quite meet the specs, but certainly they'll work on it and get it back out here. Just hopefully it'll be in time. I feel the sun's starting to come back out, which is a bad thing. I hope they get it out here soon.
All right, and we'll be watching for that 16 car. No look of it yet down pit road, guys, so I know Greg Biffle's getting a little bit anxious.
Wendy, thank you very much. Jeff Burton, a lot of experience on this racetrack. 30 Sprint Cup Series starts.
Jeff was 21st quickest in practice, and on the other side of the coin, Jeff Hammond talked about the news out of Richard Childress Racing with the 2019 Kevin Harvick and Richard Childress. They also announced that Scott Miller, the crew chief for this car, will become the director of competition, overlooking all the key areas of all 4 teams. He's still serving as a crew chief for Jeff Burton until another crew chief can be hired to fill that position.
Bob Dillner.
Jimmy Johnson goes out way early here at 23. How's that going to stack up?
I hope it's good. We picked up a lot from practice. Had to get pretty aggressive in there to make stuff happen, and it was a good lap. So I'm not sure it's going to be good enough for the pole. Conditions are only going to get better, but our goal going out this early was to try to be in the top 10, and hopefully we'll do that with the Scobalt Tools Chevrolet.
Jimmy Johnson's got a smile on his face.
Bob Casey Mears is up next, another driver out of the Richard Childress Racing stable.
And Jeff Burton and Kevin Harvick, they actually ran laps pretty close to each other. 3 100ths, a 56 for Harvick and a 30.59 for Jeff Burton.
Might also point out that both of those guys picked up quite a bit over what they practiced in the first 2 practices here at Atlanta. For Kevin Harvick, he was almost 7/10 of a second faster than he had practiced it. So even though he wasn't on the pole, he should be pretty pleased with that. Let's see what our teammate can pull off here. Casey Mears currently trying to hover around that top 5.
It's a brand new race car they built here. Tried to build it similar to the car they ran at Indy and Michigan last month. Casey, one of the few drivers in 2009 sitting with no DNF so far this year. He's going to be right behind his teammates Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton at a 30.79, 5th quickest for Casey.
Casey will be followed by Marcus Ambrose, Denny Hamlin, and Greg Biffle if Biffle's car shows up.
It's getting close. Now Casey Mears looks like he's going to be the first driver to go ahead and dip down and try to run that second lap. We don't anticipate, based on what we saw during those practice sessions, that this will be faster, and it's about a 1/10 slower. I think we're getting confirmation that the 16 car actually of Greg Biffle's is rolling down pit road as we speak.
There's the Biff's hot rod.
He knew they'd make it.
Yeah, no sweat. Got to beat Jimmy Johnson. He's your pole sitter for the time being. Couple clouds overhead. We had some raindrops during the first practice here for the Sprint Cup Series teams, but everything looks good now. And Marcus Ambrose, he scraped the right side of his car in one of those practice sessions.
He's working it pretty good right now through there. He's got his hands full, but looking pretty sporty down that back straightaway, bailing off into turn 3 there.
He had been pretty quick in that practice session. He was 15th quickest, and right now he is flirting with a front row spot. Maybe a couple of tenths off of what Jimmy Johnson ran, and he will be second right now. Exactly a little over 2 tenths slower than Jimmy Johnson at a 30.46. Good run for Marcos considering the day this team has had with that car. He had a great run going here in the spring race, a good top 10 run, and had an engine failure.
5 top 10 starts for Ambrose in this 2009 season.
I was listening to an interview Michael Waltrip did about Marcus Ambrose, and he was saying what he was amazed about him was the way he can break a post-race deal down and analyze the car and talk about, well, if we'd have done this, we'd have done that, how much better we could have run, and how we could have possibly won the race. He said he is one of the most intriguing and yet intellectual and smart drivers he's ever been around.
Speaking of intriguing, Denny Hamlin, he's been hot in the second half of this season. 6 top 5 finishes in his last 10 races, 8 top 10s.
And he said they weren't very good, or he wasn't too sure what to expect, but he was pretty quick in that first practice. He was 3rd fastest in this number 11 car.
He was one of the 4 teams that participated in a Goodyear tire test here back in July, along with Tony Stewart, Jamie McMurray, and Kurt Busch. Going to be a good run for Denny Hamlin, maybe in the 30s. Actually a 30.42, exactly 2 tenths behind Jimmy Johnson on lap 1.
Let's go to Wendy.
And Sam Hornish getting some family time with daughter Addison and wife Crystal on the grid now. Sam, you had your hands full in practice. You were very loose out there. Guys up in the booth want to hear from you on how that run was in practice earlier.
Well, Spotter got on, he told the guys, he goes, I got a little bit loose, you're going to come in. And I said, if that's a little bit loose, I hate to see what a lot loose is. But definitely the car was way too loose for us today. Mobile One Dodge, we got it better for the end of practice. The only problem is we can really only run the bottom right now. We're way too loose to run the high line. So that'll limit what we can do tomorrow, but hopefully we'll go over some notes tonight and make sure that Travis gets it figured out for us for tomorrow.
All right, thanks to Sam Hornish. Clearly, Daddy's little girl, she came out on the grid with Mommy and went running for Daddy.
She has pretty eyes.
She does.
Well, Casey Kane won from the pole here back in 2006 in the spring race at 85 laps that afternoon.
This is definitely one of those teams they cannot breathe easy. He comes in here 11th in the points, only 52 points to the good, but pretty solid when you look at our tracker halfway down the back straightaway. He was only 30th quickest in that final practice session. Gets a little bit loose right there. You could see it start to cost him time. Is it going to be enough?
Yes, sir.
It will. 30-21 beats Jimmy Johnson by 2 100ths. I'm sure he's glad that finish line was getting close because that tracker was going the wrong way.
But 2 100ths is good enough. Casey Kane, the quickest of 9 drivers at a 30-21. Well, coming up, we'll see Greg Biffle, A.J. Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, and Joey Logano, and that guy, Mark Martin. 27-year-old A.J. Allmendinger, big wiggle off of turn 4. We've seen that a few times today, haven't we, boys?
Yeah, and especially from him. I mean, he did a big wiggle off of turn 2 earlier today, and surprisingly, he was able to hang on to it, and it's still wiggling all the way off the corner of turn 2. He's not letting up on it, though.
Best start this year was the first Michigan race where he went off 6th.
AJ's going to be one of several drivers making the trip up to downtown Atlanta tonight to the Georgia Dome to watch the Virginia Tech Alabama football game.
You're not going to say roll tide this time?
I'm just going to lay low for a while. Did you get that Syracuse score?
I did. They lost in
overtime.
A.J. Allmendinger 9th overall.
9th out of the 10 cars it's qualified.
Wendy.
And Mark Martin getting ready to get in the race car. Second fastest in the happy hour. How is your car going to qualify for today?
Our car's good for today and tomorrow. So we'll just see what kind of lap we get here. Every time you do this, it's a little different. So see what kind of lap we get. But we've got a great race car, and look forward to the race tomorrow night.
All right, good luck to Mark Martin. Everybody's been checking out the weather as the cloud and the sun keeps moving around. Bob?
Casey Kane has been looking at the sky, seeing what the cloud cover is going to do, but how was that lap? Good, but was it crazy?
It was pretty good. I thought the cloud was going to go away and the sun was going to come out right before he went, and it didn't. So we had a good one. Now it looks like there's more clouds, so I think everybody will have a good track to go on. And but yeah, our Budweiser dogs felt strong right there. I felt like I got through 1 and 2 really good. Wish I could have picked the throttle up a little sooner in 3 and 4, but I didn't want to get tied off and then loose or any of that stuff. So I just eased it off there and had a good lap. It was cool. These guys did a great job. We made a pretty big pickup from practice, and we had a great practice in race trim, and now we're qualified pretty well for the race. So tomorrow should be good for us, hopefully.
Casey Kane fastest so far.
Well, Bob, Greg Biffle started from the pole here back in 2007, but his run just good enough for 8th of the 11 drivers who have qualified here at AMS.
You know, Greg and those guys, him and Greg Irwin, they're carrying a little bit of momentum coming in here. Their last 5 races, 3 top 5 finishes, but they're 8th in the points, only 75 points inside the top 12.
Right here, the man is putting all the pressure on everybody from 12th up to about 7th. Kyle Busch off to a big win at Bristol, looking to try to displace somebody this weekend and get back in that top 12.
They really fought this car in practice. You can see way below the apron. When you get below that yellow line, the transition, the angle of the banking changes right there. This is a pretty good run. Brand new race car for this 18 team.
Working on a top 5 run, wiggle there.
And you can see it cost him a little bit, but I'm telling you, that guy has got some car control. He ends up 3rd quickest at a 30-33. He was on a front row start till he got sideways off turn 4.
He's an amazing talent, Kyle Busch is. Well, later tonight on Speed, Ron Hornaday looks to regain his winning form at a track with a reputation for side-by-side excitement. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Iowa tonight at 9:30 Eastern here on Speed. Joey Logano next out onto the racetrack. 12 drivers have qualified. Casey Kane is the quickest at a 30-21.
Joey had a rough race at Bristol a couple of weeks ago, finished 34th, involved in a wreck very early, and I talked to Joey earlier today. He said, Larry Mack, you haven't lived till you wreck before lap 20 at Bristol and have to run that car for 400-something laps with pretty much everything torn on it. He said it is a character-building experience.
And I'd like to tell him, welcome to the world of NASCAR, because sooner or later it's going to happen to you, but there is not a worse place that you can just about get yourself banged up than Bristol, because you can't get out of the way quick enough.
I don't think he'll be very happy with that qualifying run. 11th out of our 13 cars.
30-80 for Joey Logano. Coming up, Elliott Sadler, Sam Hornish, Matt Kenseth, and the veteran Mark Martin. Let's go to Wendy.
Usually Tony Stewart is quite personable on the grid and for all race weekend, but right now Tony Stewart is very much under the weather. He has had the flu all weekend, and yesterday was worse than today is, so he is improving, but Tony has been in and out of the car doing drinking as much water as he can, taking in a lot of fluids right now. He's not feeling himself, not feeling very well, and I'm sure he has a lot on his mind with the prelude right around the corner after this race at Atlanta. Maybe that dragon logo on the rear TV panel will give him some motivation this weekend. Bob?
But nobody has ever argued that Kyle Busch is a heck of a shoe behind the wheel, and you proved it right there, because what a wiggle coming off of 4 on your qualifying lap.
I was wiggling everywhere, but just another day and driving the COT, you know, but what an effort by the team. You know, the guys on this team worked their butts off all day long. You know, we unloaded, we weren't very good, and we changed an awful lot of stuff there to try to get our car better, to try to get it turning, and they got it turning for me. I told them to get it turning for me, and I'll get some lap time out of it. And I knew that if I was going to get a good lap time, I was just going to have to mat it and in the center of 1 and 2 and hope that she held on. And she wiggled a few times over there, did a couple times off of 4. 4 was bigger, but gas on is when you go fast.
Kyle Busch held on for all it's worth.
Gas on.
Me, gas on.
I like that.
That's the reason he has 56 career wins in the top 3 series and not even close to the age of 30 yet.
Elliott Sadler 8th overall. Stanley Tools Dodge.
Good effort for our buddy from trackside.
Sam Hornish Jr. out of Defiance, Ohio.
Sam was 26th quickest in the final practice session. I'm sure he's, as we spoke to him a while ago, anxiously anticipating what this car is going to do, considering some of the things he encountered in that practice session.
I would dare say, Larry, if it doesn't jump sideways on him, he'll be very happy.
Well, he's in pretty good shape about halfway down the back straightaway. Kind of eased it down in the 3 and 4. But you can see the car just really way up the racetrack, and so he was in good shape till he got the 3 and 4 and then lost a lot of ground.
Sam 11th overall of 15 drivers. 30-72.
You know, we talked about this in the earlier practice session. Even though it's starting to get cloudy and overcast and cool off a little bit, Mark Martin sat on the pole here in the spring in 29.64. Of course, most of our past qualifying sessions over the last few years, it's been at night when it's much cooler than in the afternoon.
Gas on.
We'll go fast.
Back at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Casey Kane in his Dodge has the quick lap at a 30.21. Matt Kenseth up now, trying to stay in the playoff contention.
Guys, go ahead. I'm sorry, I was going to say, you know, Steve, he ran extremely well at Michigan earlier this last race, and talking to Drew Blickensturfer, they felt very confident coming in here because of the fact that, you know, that Matt has also finished 13th or better in the last 8 races here at Atlanta. And they feel like this is going to be their weekend to kind of like take what they've learned at Michigan. They led laps there. They were competitive that day, and take what he does so well here at Atlanta and come out of here with some momentum and hanging on that 12th place.
He's going to be the second driver to attempt a second lap, but to no avail, 2/10 slower, but he ends up 7th quickest, about mid-pack right now, with that first lap of 30.52.
Yeah, top 5 finishes in 4 of his last 6 Atlanta Motor Speedway starts. And Jeff, I started to say he is 12th in points right now, but just 34 points ahead of Kyle Busch.
You know, that's not even you can't even say that's a cushion, but at the same time, if he can hang on with his 34 points or just 1, when the checkered flag drops at Richmond, that's what's going to matter. Every point is going to matter so much, and when you go back and reflect on this season, after guys get through Richmond, the guys who get in, they're going to look back and say, well, it's because we did this at that track. Or if you're not in it, you're going to look back and say, well, that one race, if we'd have not beat ourselves there, had this problem, we'd have got into the chase. It's going to be a lot of frustration after we get through next weekend, but it all starts tomorrow night.
I just firmly believe that the top 12 we have right now will not be the same top 12 in the checkered flag ways at Richmond.
But I bet you I can't get you to make a book on who's going to be the guy that's going to get kicked out.
Well, we started or said earlier this morning, 7th through 14th, separated by just 89 points.
But what's so amazing is we can do a lot of number crunching, and we do that from time to time. And if you go by what the numbers tell you, as we watch Mark Martin come back here, he was second quickest in that final practice. On that first lap, he's now fourth quickest. One of the guys trying to hang in here on the top 12. It tells you that Matt Kenseth will not score enough points to keep him in the top 12. But you also factor in momentum and other things like that. Well, it almost tells you that not only Matt Kenseth, but probably Casey Kane will be knocked out based off of the fact that Brian Vickers has got momentum, and so does Kyle Busch. So if you believe in numbers, that's how you kind of line it up. To me, I think you got to look at the results and the momentum at the time. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, our last two races, they've been won by Kyle Busch at Bristol and Wendy, the guy you're with at Michigan.
Absolutely. I'm calling him the new Rocket Man in the Sprint Cup Series. Brian Vickers waiting for your car to get out here. Well, I think the tech inspection line must be a little tough on those guys today. How is your car, and how do you think it's going to fare with this grip level that we've had the weather changing?
Yeah, well, the weather keeps changing. The clouds coming and going. If we can catch a cloud, that'll definitely help. Just really happy with the Red Bull Toyota in practice and race trim. We didn't get to make many qualifying runs. We were okay. We were way too tight. We needed to adjust on it. Hopefully we made the right adjustments, but we're going to find out soon enough.
All right, good luck to Brian Vickers, and he is 6 cars away, I believe, from going out there. Something that we're not used to seeing out here on the grid, guys, is a lot of drivers without their cars. I'm saying the theme must be the sticklers in the garage area inspecting those race cars.
Well, I would say that, and even more, a lot more work going on since that last practice session, considering how everybody was scrambling. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was 11th quickest in practice, not that great on lap 1, 14th quickest. He's going to dig after a second lap. And a 37.37 slows down almost 2/10 to a 30.90. Sitting on the pole for the Nationwide Series race. It'll go off a little later on tonight.
His 10th career pole. Hendrick teammates Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin, 2nd and 4th respectively. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 14. 18 drivers have qualified. Casey Kane is the man to beat. Well, Ryan Newman has a spectacular record here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. 7 times a pole sitter on this 1.5-mile track. Tied with the great Buddy Baker.
But his finishing record here, in 15 starts, he only has 1 top 5 finish and 3 top 10s. Qualifying's been a lot better to him than race results.
I think he's going to be very happy with this qualifying effort, Larry.
Yeah, he was the fastest at a 30.82 in that final practice. We're seeing teams pick up a 1/2 to 3/4 of a second from what they ran in practice, but I'm not sure this first lap's even going to get him in the top 10. It won't. 11th quickest.
Ryan Newman spent some time in Fort Benning here in the state of Georgia earlier this week. Let's go to Wendy.
Michael Waltrip's watching his car get pushed down the grid. So, Michael, you're the twittering king. Have you twittered today and how your car is doing? Because I have missed the updates. I've been busy on the air.
No, I'm MW55 if you want to know what I'm doing. Me and Kenny Wallace went to the Braves game last night and had a blast, and we sent some funny stuff out. But on days like today, you know, you're kind of head in your car. This is a great city for MWR. Atlanta's the home for Napa, Coca-Cola, Aaron's, a bunch of our sponsors here, and we just want to run well. Had a good practice in the morning. We liked our car, and then we got off in the afternoon. So they told me if I picked up a second, they would be happy with my performance. So I'm going to go pick up a second for them.
All right, good luck with that, Michael Waltrip, ready for qualifying, and always a joy to interview on Speed.
Wow.
Second.
Pick up a second, but would you see what Tony did when he went down in turn 1? That car did a D-do like you would not believe.
And right now he's sitting there flirting with running about the same time that his teammate Ryan Newman ran just a car ago, maybe a little bit better. He actually picked up quite a bit of ground through the middle of 3 and 4 and off. Right now Tony ends up 7th quickest at a 30.48.
Wendy mentioned the Dragon logo today. Tony announced the Dragon Dojo Martial Arts Center as the official small business of 2009. So that business located in Panama City, Florida, gets the logo on the car and a check for $14,000, a small business makeover from Office Depot.
I think that's pretty impressive right there what Office Depot is doing to recognize small businesses around this country.
Did you know also they have donated 300,000 backpacks to school children, underprivileged school children? They have a back-to-school backpack program, and that's impressive.
Well, they've got a lot of really good programs out there at Office Depot. They give money, I think, to animal, shelters and stuff like that around the country by donating, ink cartridges back and everything like that. They do a lot of things to give back to the community. You got to kind of tip your hat to that, what they do.
Juan Pablo Montoya is next up, 9th in points, 64 ahead of 13th place Kyle Busch.
He was 7th quickest in practice and was on a pretty good run. The car just seemed like it got real lazy down in the middle of 3 and 4, and he ends up 12th quickest at a 35.79. He was in good shape, top 5 run until he turned down in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
Up next, we'll see David Stremme, Jamie McMurray, and Kurt Busch, who won here in March.
Juan comes in here 9th in the points, only 64 points in front of 13.
Well, that driver, Casey Kane, in the 9 car is the man to beat. Coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on Speed is presented by Subway. Scrabble at Subway is back. So many chances to win and so many great prizes. Play Scrabble at Subway, where winners eat. And brought to you in part by Wrangler, proud sponsor of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. It's David Stremme in the 12 car, good qualifying effort, 5th overall.
He was 6th quickest in practice, so he kind of backed that up, but I think it became fairly known this week that very possibly David Stremme is auditioning, because I think we're going to see Brad Keselowski move over to this 12 team for 2010, and this is the weekend David's making his 100th career Sprint Cup Series start, but future of 2010 unknown for David Stremme.
Speaking of future unknown, what's going to happen to Jamie McMurray in 2010?
Rumors around the garage area indicate he may be returning to the man who gave him his first opportunity, Chip Ganassi Racing. With Martin Truex departing in 1 car, his name has now been mentioned for possibly going back in it.
And Jamie did say about a week ago that he felt like sometime in mid-September to late September he would be able to announce his plans for 2010. Jamie was 38th quickest in practice earlier. He has 1 nationwide series win here. His teammates Matt Kenseth right now are 10th and Greg Biffle is 16th. Not the qualifying run Jamie was looking for. He ends up 17th and he'll be one and done.
30.68 to Casey Kane's 30.21. 23 drivers have qualified, separated by 0.7 of a second.
It actually is a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be based on watching practice earlier today.
Wendy.
And Jeff Gordon and Clint Boyer are just chatting it up here on the pit road. Jeff Gordon's waiting for his car to make it down the grid, which I see it just made that corner right now. But let's check in with Jeff Gordon and how his race car was. It's almost one of those conversations you don't want to interrupt because it's serious race talk. Jeff Gordon, how is your... No, you're saying no, not serious race talk.
Not if I'm talking to Boyer. It can never be too serious.
How is your race car going to be in the short weekend that we have, where it seems like everybody's rushed to get out here for qualifying, everything's rushed for today?
Yeah, it definitely makes things interesting. A lot of guessing going on because of the track temp dropping right now, and practicing during the heat of the day. So I'm not really sure. DuPont Chevrolet was good earlier, and we're going to go out there and drive it as hard into that first turn as we can and see if it'll stick and see if we can put up a good number. We've been been good all day. Our teammates have been good, and they, again, are solid, so let's hope we can back that up as well.
All right, the car just rolled by him. He's going to jump in it and get ready to qualify.
Wendy Kurt Busch, who won here March 9th, is 4th overall, just behind his brother Kyle, in fact, by 1/100th of a second. Well, tomorrow, NASCAR race day storms into Atlanta, where time is running out for some desperate chase contenders. Wendy will get the real deal with Juan Pablo Montoya. Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch join us live as well, 5 Eastern here on Speed. Unadilla, Georgia's David Reagan. The UPS Ford for Roush Fenway. Was 13th in points at this juncture 1 year ago, but 29th right now.
They kind of struggled in practice with this 6 car. He was 34th quickest. Had a pretty decent run at Bristol a couple of weeks ago. Finished 14th the night after winning the Nationwide Series race.
Got a bad lap going here right now. See, oh, he had his hands full inside there. He was fighting some bees.
But he stayed on the throttle, Jeff, and he's going to end up with a decent run considering how that car looked right behind his teammate Matt Kenseth. He ends up 12th after lap 1.
I mean, he was going left, right as fast as he could trying to hang on to that car. And again, good effort right there by him, but it really cost him a lot of speed off of turn 4.
Wendy is busy.
We were going to get Clint Boyer along with Jeff Gordon. He slipped away from us. Jeff Gordon said you can never have a serious conversation when it involves Clint Boyer. Is your car going to be as good as what Jeff Gordon was describing with his? It's a fast day, lots of changes, and everybody keeps looking up at the sky because the weather is going to play in your favor, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is. Those 2 big black clouds right there, hopefully they just stay right there. But I was telling Gordon he was pretty fast in practice. I watched him. He actually said that run was on scuff, so that really scares me. He could be really fast, but our BB&T Chevrolet is strong. I think we got a shot at it, really do. We got a very good draw. We got to take advantage of it.
Right. Clint Boyer in a good mood, and it seems like, gentlemen, with the week off away from the Sprint Cup Series garage area, everybody's in a very good, relaxed mood and loves talking to the media today, which is today we like.
I mean, I like so many things that NASCAR has done this year. I think the fact of swapping this date with Auto Club Speedway, where now we'll be there when instead of the temperatures being in the hundreds as it is right now out there Labor Day weekend, we maybe we'll have something in the 70s, and we won't have wind, cold, and rain here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I think, unlike the last few years where we went 17 races in a row, there's a lot of series in racing that does not have 17 races the entire season, and we were going 17 in a row. I think this is a good time for a break coming in here to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and it's 12 in a row now, all the way to the end at Homestead, Miami in November.
Yeah, the Southern 500, a tradition that started at Darlington on Labor Day back in 1950. It's great to have this race back here, at least in the Southeast.
Well, Paul Menard, he's going to have his work cut out for him tomorrow night when they drop the green flag. He slows down on lap 2, but he's the slowest of our 26 cars that's qualified so far.
He's pretty much struggled since he's gotten here. For some reason, they have not really been on the mark in either practice session, Larry.
Brian Vickers, the 27th driver to qualify, and well, he's had a terrific season. 6 poles in 2009. He got the win recently, and they are now contending to get in the championship race.
And don't be fooled right now, folks, when he takes this takes this green flag, if he's not a contender for sitting on the pole here today. They've been good in both practices.
Has 6 poles in 2009, and next week at Richmond, he'll be one of our guests on our little trackside party, and
that's
I guess we'll be talking to him about how close he is to the top 12, or possibly maybe in the top 12 when we get to Richmond next week. Don't think this is going to be a pole run, but maybe a good top 10 qualifying run for this 83 car.
Finished 5th here in March and really thought he had a shot to win. They had trouble on pit road, their last pit stop of that afternoon.
That was the Achilles heel, but he did not need that last caution because he was running that 2 car down. Like he said, don't know if I was going to pass him, but I think I was going to catch him. Brian ends up 6th quickest at a 30.37.
Casey Kane put up a big number early. Joe Nemechek knocked him off the pole. Find out after this here on Speed. Michael Waltrip makes his 748th Cup start here under the lights tomorrow night.
And silly season is starting to churn not only on the driver category but in the crew chief category, because after Bristol they named new interim crew chief Gene Need. Now Gene Need was the champion crew chief with Ted Musgrave in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series in 2005. Booty Barker remains with the organization and is actually crew chiefing the 13 car with Max Pappas. They have a huge alliance with Michael Waltrip Racing.
Michael 15th overall of 28 drivers. 30-56.
He found his second.
That's right.
From what he practiced said earlier.
He did. He ran a 31.50 in practice.
I was paying attention.
He'll be happy about that.
He should be. He'll be ecstatic.
I bet he'll get on Twitter about that. Now that he's qualified.
Exactly. You know how to Twitter?
I do.
You're Twittering fool.
Hope you don't Twitter while you're driving.
I send tweets.
I've known Larry Mack for a long time. I never thought I'd hear you say I send tweets.
I do.
To tweeps.
I do. I'm all over it.
You're on the information superhighway.
Speaking of superhighway, Super G right now is making a pretty good run here, guys.
Big Daddy is on a good, solid top 5 run.
Yes, he is.
He was 5th quickest in that practice. Has 4 wins here and 2 poles. One of the 3 drivers that's already locked into the chase comes in here 3rd in the points. Don't think she's going to be a pole run, but she's going to be right up near the front when he gets done here. 3rd quickest for Jeff Gordon.
Hard to believe he made his very first Cup start here back in 1992. It was the last race for the King, Richard Petty.
And has not missed a start since. Little did we know what kind of numbers this kid was going to lay down.
Let's go to Wendy.
And David Gilliland walking alongside the 21 car, of course, filling in for Bill Elliott and his injury from the week. So how has your week been? It's been a whirlwind. It's a crazy Thursday when you were getting that seat fitted. It's all happened so fast.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. It's a great opportunity. Motorcraft and the Wood Brothers for letting me come on board and give me an opportunity here this week. Thursday was crazy. From the morning, meeting with the guys at TRG, and then the evening getting the phone call. It was a roller coaster ride for sure. But man, I'm just really happy to be at the track and looking to make the most of this opportunity. We're working on everything, trying to put something in place for next year to be able to land somewhere and find a good home. So hopefully, driving a competitive car like this definitely helps.
All right, good luck on that end of it. David Gilliland is still smiling. And guys, I've called it musical chairs. When the music stops this weekend, where are these drivers landing? This definitely has been the heat of silly season this weekend.
And Wendy, 26-year-old Eric Darnell, part of that silly season week. Bobby Labonte will be out of this car for 7 races, not out completely, but for 7 races that Eric Darnell will drive with a specific sponsor.
Yeah, this sponsor, it's a 7-race deal, and it's not 7 consecutive races. As you mentioned, Bobby will be back in the 96 car at Richmond, but the sponsor requested 26-year-old Eric Darnell, who runs a limited nationwide series schedule for Roush Fenway, to be in the car for those races. Bobby Labonte's actually here. We just talked to David Gilliland. Bobby Labonte's actually in the 71 car here this weekend.
See how it all's tangled and interconnected and intersects.
You got to tune in here to the speed to be able to keep it straight.
Not sure if we're straight.
So Eric Darnell making his Sprint Cup Series debut. He's going to have to start deep in the field, 30th of the 30 cars that's qualified.
There's Big Daddy coming up. We'll see Carl Edwards.
Welcome back to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying. Here live on Speed at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon talking to his crew after a good qualifying run. But when I saw you climb out of the car, you're kind of pointing down in this section. What were you talking about with the boys?
I blew turn 4, and I guess say 3 and 4 because I got into 3 pretty good. But the car was tight. We just missed on our adjustments there a little bit, and I got to the green, got through 1 and 2 really good, and I knew I had to be conservative down there in 3 and 4 because I could tell the car was too tight. And I hooked the yellow line. I thought I was good. Got back to the gas and came off there, and I really had to get out of the gas. So great effort by DuPont Chevrolet. It's been a good day for us. I hope this, gets us towards the front when this qualifying session's all over, because I think we got a heck of a race car in this DuPont Chevrolet.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But had that not happened over there, you think you could have beat that time?
I didn't think it was a pole run. I thought it was a good lap, but I thought I lost a lot of time over there. We'll see what the pole ends up.
Jeff Gordon with a great run here, and everybody talking about 3 and 4 guys and how crazy it is coming off that corner.
Bob, Carl Edwards 13th overall in his Ford. We talked about this earlier, but in case you missed it, great paint scheme there designed by a very brave young girl battling cancer. 13-year-old Jody Lawrence designed that paint scheme.
A great paint scheme, but a hurting right foot. Carl Edwards playing Frisbee earlier in the week, broke some bones in his right foot, but he becomes the fastest of the Roush Fenway group. In fact, he's 13th, Matt Kenseth at 14th, and David Reagan, another Roush Fenway car, 15th. 3 of them right there together.
Larry, take a memo. Include Frisbees into no skydiving, bull riding, or jumping motorcycles in the next driver contract.
Based on Bill Elliott, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely need to stay off of dirt bikes.
Carl Edwards, a 3-time winner here at Atlanta, got his first career win here back in 2005. Well, next up, Martin Truex Jr. He's a 32nd driver to qualify.
I'll tell you what, he got through turn 1 and 2, and he got a great run off turn 4. He may do it here on this lap. He will. 30-10 beats Casey Kane by over a 1/10 of a second. It's like the car was just free enough, not loose, but free enough in turning to be fast, and Martin Truex stayed in the throttle.
He popped that brake, set that nose on that car, and when he picked the throttle back up, like you said, Larry, it jumped up off that corner.
So Martin Truex Jr. knocks Casey Kane from the pole position, Wendy.
Well, you guys were talking about Bobby Labonte in the 71 car. Bobby has plenty of experience at this racetrack, not a lot of experience in the 71 car. How was today, and how challenging was it to get up to speed in a new race car?
Well, it wasn't too bad in a lot of ways. I mean, Atlanta's a tough track to get around, as we all know, and the grip level's so crazy here. Like you see, a lot of guys picking up half a second to a second and something, So I'm excited about qualifying, and I hope we do good. I wasn't quite as good as I like to admit in practice, but hopefully we can pick up our what we need to pick up and do good.
All right, good luck to Bobby Labonte, and it's amazing how quickly they change out these fire suits and seats in the race cars. Silly season is quite silly, isn't it, guys?
It is that. Now, Bobby Labonte is the most recent past champion outside the top 35, but he is not eligible because he was a post-entry in that 71 car.
David Rudiman, we know he got the win at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the Coca-Cola 600. He also has 2 poles this year at Texas and Dover. But David Rudiman's first lap good enough for just 25th at a 30.71.
And by no means is David Rudiman eliminated from getting into the top 12, but I just think coming in here 16th in the points, 160 points behind 12th place, that mountain is just way too vertical. Hey, there's our current pole sitter right now.
Clint Boyer is the 34th driver to qualify here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for Sprint Cup Series qualifying for tomorrow night's Pep Boys 500. Hope you're having a great Labor Day weekend.
Boys, we need to watch this car because he was 4th quickest in practice earlier today. This is a brand new car Shane Wilson and that group has brought here. I don't think he's going to be very happy, though, with that first lap. That may be why he's going to go ahead and try to run a second lap. So far, though, out of the 5 cars that went for the second lap, no one came close to picking up.
I don't think he is either, Larry. I think that, probably what has happened to some of these teams is maybe a little bit over adjustment based off of the weather. Again, they had a great draw as far as going out late, but I think some of these guys have missed exactly the little fine tuning you need to find the extra speed. Everybody, with the exception of the one car, Mark Truex Jr., he definitely had it all working his qualifying effort.
And he's down there with Bob.
Yeah, he got the top time so far by basically a full 1/10 of a second. I was joking around with you earlier about how great you've been lately, so not a bad lap. Wow, where did that come from?
Well, we had a good car in practice. We made our very last run of practice there on Scuffs, and we ran just about our best time. So I felt good with the car, and you know, we never got to qualify here in the daytime, and we used to always be fast in the day, and then we'd have to qualify at night. We could never pick up the speed. So just want to thank all these guys for the hard work. It's been one heck of a tough season, but these guys never give up. They've been working really hard, and we've been trying really hard to you know, to make our cars better and to help the 42 guys get in the chase, and they've done a great job. So Guitar Hero Chevrolet was great, and I think we've got a really good race car, and this is one of my favorite racetracks. So far the weekend is good. I'm looking forward to racing here tonight. I think it's going to be really good.
Hopefully he'll have a good race car as well, boys.
Those boys sure need a good run, that's for sure.
Tony Raines has participated in 10 races this year.
This is the first of the go-or-go-homers. We still have one more top 35 car to go, and I think it may be the next car to row. It will be Robbie Gordon in the 7 car.
Yeah, he was a little bit late getting through tech, just like they talked about some of the other guys today, but he has been on a 5-minute clock, but he's going to make it in.
Wendy.
I can't imagine the stress levels these guys feel on these go-or-go-homes. Max Pappas is one of them, just patiently waiting for your car to come out here. What are the thoughts that go through your mind in this time right before you get in the race car? And then you know when you get in it, you got to put the pedal to the floor.
I mean, there is only one thought that goes into the back of my mind: attack, attack, attack. And it's all new to me, so a lot of improvisation and a lot of, you know, blessed from God up there. If it's our day, we're going to put the Geico car on the show, and I felt that we did everything we could so far, and now as soon as I get my car, I'm going to give it a go.
Now, I have to say, you always wave to your wife, Tatiana, your son, Marco, and they are right behind you. So maybe you should show the world them, since you're always waving to them. They're actually here today.
Yeah, and my family is everything for me. You know, I love them, and without them, I would never be able to do everything I've done so far. And you know, they're with me, and they're the most important things in my life before racing, before anything. So thanks, guys, for all the support. I love you all, and I love you, my family, a lot. Thanks.
And of course, you got to have the safety ear protection for the little babies.
Yes, we like that.
Of course, his wife is the daughter of the famous open wheeler Emerson Fittipaldi.
But I like his mindset: attack, attack, attack.
And he will.
He will.
He will in a heartbeat. Robbie Gordon.
He didn't get that nickname Mad Max by accident.
Robbie Gordon ends up 27th quickest. As soon as this qualifying session's over, Robbie's going to be heading back to Crandon, Wisconsin for an off-road championship series truck race there in the morning, and back to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the 500-miler tomorrow. He's going to be traveling over the 3 days, just in his travel back and forth, over 4,500 miles.
Scott Speed, teammate to Brian Vickers at Team Red Bull.
Larry, would you call that planes, trains, and automobiles?
It's pretty much going to take it all, not to mention the truck he's going to drive up there in Crandon. Now, Scott was the fastest of the go-or-go-home cars in that final practice. He was 8th quickest overall.
Let's look ahead just a little bit. Scott will be followed by David Gilliland, Regan Smith, Joe Nemechek, Patrick Carpentier, Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte, Max Pappas, Mike Bliss, and Dave Blaney.
So we know 3 cars will be going home. We know that Terry Labonte, if he does not get in on time, he will use the championship provisional. As mentioned, Bobby Labonte, his brother, not eligible for it because of being a post-entry.
Even though he is the most recent champion.
Scott Speed ends up 30th quickest at a 30.77. That is faster than Tony Raines. I'm sure as long as they get in the show, they'll be happy, but I think as far as being 8th quickest in the earlier practice, they won't be real happy with the speed they just ran.
Started 3rd at the Bristol Motor Speedway.
Ended up finishing with a top 15 finish, so a good night, good weekend for Jimmy Elledge, Scott Speed in that group. Just right now 115 points outside the top 35.
Yeah, he doesn't pick up on the second lap and remains 30th quick.
Next up, David Gilliland, Regan Smith, and Joe Nemechek. Stay with us here on Speed. Well, Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, was supposed to drive this race car in what many consider his home track, but Bill had a accident where he cracked 3 ribs on a dirt bike. So David Gilliland in the 21 car here. Bill Elliott, though, did say that he expects to be back in that car at Kansas for this team's next start.
I do want to bet you he was out probably racing against his son, and his son was out running him. He was trying a little hard to catch him and got a boo-boo.
Now, David's going to be a busy guy these last dozen races. He still will run the 71 car, the TRG car some. He's actually going to drive for Robbie Gordon next week at Richmond. Robbie will be in Baja. And then I know an opportunity he's very excited about is Joe Gibbs Racing will run a 4th car in 3 races later on this year. And he's going to run that car for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, that'll be at Texas, Charlotte, and Homestead.
So he's going to be a busy man in a lot of different cars.
He'll be busy tomorrow night, too.
Yeah, because I think he's not locked in yet, but that's going to be a very safe time. He's 17th quickest right now.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's in tomorrow night's race.
I think that's a pretty big limb. You're not really going out on the
I'm not going out on a small end, no.
This car has been qualifying good all year long, running a limited schedule with Bill Elliott.
It has. When it shows up at the racetrack, it's well prepared and it's always fast, and they've got a good qualifying package working, and David just kind of backs up what Bill's been doing all season long.
Now, this is a car that I'm a little bit nervous about, Regan Smith in this 78 car, because they just did not seem like they could get going very fast in neither one of those practice sessions. And of course, they run a limited schedule. They'll have to qualify on time as one of our go or go home cars.
So working the throttle right there off of turn 2.
And right now, halfway down the back straightaway, he's showing faster than Tony Raines, but not as quick as Scott Speed. This team's already announced they'll run the full schedule in 2010 with Regan Smith. And he's just barely, it looks like, just barely beats Tony Raines, but who knows? That may be just enough. But I think they're going to have to sit tight for a little bit. I'd say this will be a team that will go ahead and run that second lap. So far, we've not seen anybody pick up on lap 2. But you have to go down swinging.
Picks up a little bit entering turn 3.
He lost about 4/10 on that lap.
So right now he's 37th of our 39 cars and has one go or go homer behind him, Tony Raines.
Let's go to
going to lock in David Gilliland. Excuse me, Steve.
That's okay. Let's go back to Wendy.
Patrick Carpentier is waiting for his car, which is now being pushed down the grid. One car away from going out. I know you got in a little bit of the wall there in earlier practice session. Is it in control for qualifying today, you think?
Yeah, I was going to say a wave came through and I went up the track, but no, we got a new sponsor with energy, Wave Energy drink, and hopefully we'll make the race. We struggled in practice. It was hard. The car was loose, just went up the track, and we bottomed out, and the splitter on the front end and just went tight up the track. So it's been doing everything. So hopefully we fixed it up. We need to be a little bit faster than we were this morning, and hopefully we'll make it in. So we'll see.
Didn't get a chance to talk to you. Did you have fun racing at home? Did you have fun racing at home? I haven't talked to you.
Yeah, I did have fun. I mean, that car was fast. It was really fast. We started at the back, went up the front really quickly. I missed the shift. Don't tell anybody, though. It was a bad mistake, but that's life, though. We didn't finish the race, but we had fun while I was there.
All right, nobody heard you. Patrick Carpentier, of course, referring to racing in his hometown of Montreal.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be tight back here where we're seeing Joe Nemechek right now. Is he going to beat Regan Smith and Tony Raines? He will. He's 35th quickest. That will not lock him in yet, but that may be just fast enough to make him safe. I think he'll go ahead and try to run this second lap. I think we'll see most of the go or go homers unless they run a lap like David Gilliland run that second lap. I think this will probably end up locking Scott Speed into the show. You know, even if he doesn't pick up a position, if he can just pick up a little bit on the stopwatch, that could make a difference. But he will not. He'll slow down about 1/10.5, so that will lock Scott Speed into the show.
So the pressure's on. Can anybody beat Martin Truex Jr. for the pole? And who's going to make the race and who goes home? All those questions will be answered after this. And back at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, just a few cars remain in this Sprint Cup Series qualifying session. That's former Series champ Terry Labonte in the 08. And Sprint Cup Series qualifying is presented by Subway.
Now, Terry was the slowest of our 46 cars in that final practice session, but he has the championship provisional at his disposal. Got a Nationwide Series win here and has a pole here as well in the Sprint Cup Series. Plans on running about 3 to 4 more races in this car in 2009.
Terry will be followed by his brother, Bobby Labonte.
Just based on what I see there, now he beats Tony Raines, but don't know if that'll be fast enough to get in on time. The good news is I don't know if that does not lock Joe Nemechek in yet.
No, because like you said earlier, Terry is using a champion's provisional, and that does affect, you know, Joe's status until after another car goes.
Yeah. But I think Joe will probably end up being in pretty good shape.
Well, Joe hopes you're correct. Well, we've been talking about it. Now it's up to Bobby Labonte to qualify his way in because he cannot use a champion's provisional.
Bobby's sitting on 568 consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup Series starts, a streak that started in the 1993 Daytona 500. He will be in this car probably 6 more races whenever Eric Darnell is in the 96 car, but he will be back in the 96 car as mentioned at Richmond next week.
Bobby Labonte has a tremendous record here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 6 times he's been to victory lane. And I'm glad this deal worked out because it would have been a shame if his streak had ended, particularly here at Atlanta.
I'm going to tell you what, he had a great run going. He's going to be okay, but it got ugly there for a minute. To see what that thing looked like from turn 4 to the finish line, and he ends up 25th quickest.
I don't see how he did it. I really did not see how he did it. I thought when it jumped sideways, everyone his opportunity to make the race, and yet he kept his foot in it.
Yeah, because that would have killed that lap and the next lap.
Yes.
He was in the top 10 to 12 up to this point right here. You can see the car just in that 4-wheel slide, gets loose right there.
And he never lifted, Larry.
He knew he could not lift because it's pretty much go or go home.
Man, I'm telling you right now, how bad do you want to start your next race? You just saw how bad Labonte wants to race tomorrow.
Well, he will race, so he'll make his 569th consecutive start here tomorrow night.
Well, Patrick Carpentier in the 36 car for Tommy Baldwin Racing. He'll be followed by Max Pappas, Mike Bliss, and the final driver out, Dave Blaney.
Now, Patrick will be in this car for the next 6 races, including here, attempting to make the race. He mentioned his new sponsor, Wave Energy Drink. The thing they're really promoting is franchises are available, and you can get it at a pretty economical price, but they're going to have some work to do because he was only 44th quickest in practice, and you see on the tracker way off from where he needs to be.
Right now, David Gilliland, Bobby Labonte, and Scott Speed locked into the show.
This lap here will not do it, so we know we'll see Patrick go ahead and run that second lap. He's 41st. He beats Tony Raines, but he's behind Regan Smith and Terry Labonte. The guy really watching this lap anxiously would be Joe Nemechek in that 87 car, who is 36 right now. Don't think he's going to be able to get back to where he needs to be, but I guarantee you he's not going to quit trying. He may actually better. Boy, he just kept wiggling off turn 4. I thought for a minute he was going to better his first lap time, but he slows down 3/100ths. That will lock Nemechek into the show.
So final 3 drivers coming up. We'll see Max Pappas, Mike Bliss, and Dave Blaney. We'll find out who will start this race tomorrow night. NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying on Speed is presented by Subway. Scrabble at Subway is back. So many chances to win and so many great prizes. Play Scrabble at Subway, where winners eat. And brought to you in part by Camping World's Recreation Destination Sweepstakes. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter weekly giveaways. This week, one of 5 adventurer folding bikes, the prize. Well, the prize here is to see if these final 3 drivers can get into the show. Max Pappas will. It bumps Tony Raines out of the show, unfortunately, but clutch effort by Max Pappas and that Germain Racing team.
Attack, attack, attack.
And that's exactly what he did. They did not qualify at Bristol a couple of weeks ago with his new crew chief, Booty Barker. Now, what you see here, this is all the go or go home cars that's qualified. NASCAR realizes how much these teams might push the envelope just to get in the show. So what they do, all of the go or go home cars after qualifying, they put through a post-qualify height inspection. You see Max Pappas pulling up there, and this is just to make sure that everything is equal playing field for these guys that are desperately trying to qualify for this show.
And I want to point out, this is the same procedure that Martin Truex Jr. and Casey Kane, probably even Jimmy Johnson's cars will go through after they qualify, because they've qualified in the top 3. So NASCAR is just trying to make sure, as Larry pointed out, everything is fair across the board.
Well, we're down to it, guys. Final 2 drivers, Mike Bliss and Dave Blaney.
See inside that car right now, Mike Bliss is really working that steering wheel.
And he will race tomorrow night as he falls right in between Joe Nemechek and Max Pappas. That will send Patrick Carpentier in the 36 car to the house. We know Terry Labonte will be racing, so now down to Dave Blaney versus Regan Smith.
Got a question. I thought he got fired.
He did from the Nationwide Series car. They didn't say a thing about the Sprint Cup Series car.
Same owner, though.
And actually, Mike Bliss will be in the 71 car next week.
Oh, I'm even more confused now.
Because David Gilliland will be in the 7 car. Just tune in next week. Just cut it on all day Friday. We'll explain it all again.
And where'd you say Robbie Gordon's going? Baja?
Baja.
Baja? Anything like Baja Humbug?
Oh. But he's going to Wisconsin now, Robbie Gordon is.
He's probably already on his way.
Yep.
Crandon, Wisconsin. There's the guy, Regan Smith, anxiously awaiting to see what Dave Blaney can do. Dave Blaney was 35th quickest. He was just a little bit quicker by about a half a tenth than Regan Smith in that final practice session.
The car bottom out just a little bit off of turn 2. Front splitter.
Now the yellow stripe on your tracker, that represents Regan Smith. Dave Blaney just wants to be to the left. He's not going to be a lot to the left, but it looks like it's possibly going to be enough to get this 66 car in the show and send Regan Smith to the house. And indeed, Dave Blaney ends up 37th quickest.
And Regan Smith will not race.
Along with Patrick Carpentier and Tony Raines. How would you like to go through that every week as a driver or a crew chief?
I'm just sitting there thinking about that right there. But there's our pole sitter, Steve.
Second pole of 2009 for Martin Truex Jr.
Sat on the pole for the Daytona 500 back in February.
We'll take a break here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll talk to your pole sitter and set the field for the Pep Boys 500 right after this here on Speed. Martin Truex Jr. picks up his second pole of 2009, 3rd career pole, and Miss Wendy Venturini is standing by with him.
And the second pole of the year for Martin Truex Jr., the first one for his series here at Atlanta. Congratulations on the pole. I love when the Cup drivers stay out here for the very last car to qualify. It shows how excited you are.
Well, it just shows how much it means for us to get one of these poles. They're not easy to come by, and it's a little nerve-wracking waiting for all these cars to go, but a great day. We had a really good practice. We've got a great car in race trim, and wasn't real sure what we'd do for qualifying, but it was awesome. And we just got to thank Bo and all the guys. It's been kind of a tough year, but you know, they continue to work really hard, and we've been trying our best, and we've had some really good runs. And I just hope that this weekend we can put it all together. I'd really love to get those guys back in victory lane. I really think they deserve it.
And what about Sherry? Because you said she's in the motorhome. You said she has to stay there from now on because she's usually out here on the grid with you.
She is. She's going to probably be a little upset about that one, but I'll go see her in a minute. Love you, babe.
All right, Martin Truex excited for his second pole of 2009, the first at Atlanta.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Let's take a look at the starting grid for tomorrow night's race. Under the lights, and before we do that, you know, guys, there are some numbers, some statistics in NASCAR that quite frankly don't mean a whole lot, but as we take a look at the starting grid, 79 times out of 100 this race has been won from a top 10 starting position.
Well, what I see right there is I see a lot of the guys in this fight back there that's maybe like 10th to 14th. You see Casey Kane, you see Kyle Busch, Mark Martin, Brian Vickers. A lot of those guys are the guys just inside, just outside the top 12. Matt Kenseth, 12th. You see he's going to start right there on row 8 beside his teammate David Reagan.
You got to kind of look right there on row 7. Carl Edwards, a lot of guys will be watching to see how he does with that broken foot. Now here's a battle where another guys kind of battle away toward the front. Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, Greg Biffle. They've got their work cut out for them. If they want to wind up getting in this chase, they got to have a good run tomorrow night.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. you see in row 16. He starts from the pole this evening in the Nationwide Series race. And Terry Labonte gets the Champions Provisional.
Not a great qualifying effort for Yates Racing. They're going to occupy that 21st row with Eric Darnell and Paul Menard.
Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, let's get some questions answered from this guy right here, crew chief for Ryan Newman, Tony Gibson. Fastest in practice, 23rd, I believe, in qualifying. We all want to know what happened.
I don't know. We're searching too. You know, we had a really U.S. Army Chevrolet was really good in practice. Race trim was really good. He's real happy with it. Went into qualifying trim was really good too. You know, we thought we had a shot at it, but we tightened him up just a little bit. We put a half a spring rubber in the left rear, just a soft rubber, just like 15 pounds. Left the air the same, everything else, and he just said he had no grip. He just went out there and he said even coming to the green, it just didn't have any grip. So I don't really know. I can't explain it, and you'll have that sometimes. You know, you do what you think is the best, and it just doesn't turn out good. But you know, we got a great race car, and like I said, the U.S. Army Chevrolet is really good. So you know, it's not what we wanted. I'd be lying if I said I'm happy with that. I'm not. But it's what it is, and now we just got to race our guts out and get up front.
Let me ask you then, do you have question marks being that you were good in practice in race-type conditions during the day? Now you're going to be racing at night?
It usually, you know, you go off history like at Charlotte and places like that, and typically, you know, the racetrack, if you're tight, you'll get tighter. The racetrack's going to get grip. So if you were free, you're going to be freer. If you're tight, you're going to be tighter. It's just the way it is. So we take that in consideration. The 14 did the tire test down here in July, and they ran in the day, and they ran like at 10 o'clock at night. So we got some notes from where they ran, how much the track changed temperature-wise, and what Stewart's comments were. So we're kind of basing everything off that, knowing what we need in for adjustments. So that's kind of what we're going off of right now.
Or Tony Gibson, I tell you, it's got to be a struggle for a crew chief to be that good during the day and then go qualifying and barely do anything to the car and be just so-so.
You know, Bob, on the other side of the coin, the pole position for Martin Truex Jr., guys, I think speaks to the professionalism of both Martin Truex Jr. and that race team. We know that Martin's moving on to Michael Waltrip Racing, but there's no quit in either entity.
Definitely, when you say something like that, congratulations to them. But then what Bob was addressing, welcome to NASCAR, Bob. That's just the way it works. When you go to these racetracks, these tires, these cars, these drivers, everything can be very, very temperamental. For a crew chief, that's just a normal day at the office, right, big boy?
But I think even though we're running this new car here, you heard Tony Gibson talk about his teammate Tony Stewart doing the tire test here. We've got a different tire. I just think we still have so many unknowns about this racetrack in late August, early September. Even though it's going to be at night, it's going to be cooler, we still normally do not race here in Atlanta for the last number of years in these type of conditions. It's always cool in March, it's always cool in late October, and I just think there's a lot of unknowns. I think that's one reason the 16 guys doing the double duty that will be running the Nationwide Series race later on tonight, they may not learn about the car or the tires, but they'll learn about what this racetrack is going to do.
Amen. I think that's the key thing right now, Steve, is what this track's going to go through tonight will be a great indicator for a lot of these teams tomorrow night. And thank goodness this is a modified impound. You can come in here tomorrow and make adjustments to your car and get it maybe better balanced or give it a little more grip to it and make that work for tomorrow night.
How many hours of television have we done today?
7.
Hey, you got the same kind of watch on.
I like
do.
that.
Yeah.
Big John's cooking dinner for us.
We could use it. Dinner, hadn't even had lunch yet.
We forgot. Yeah, back at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's time for our Sprint Now moment. Martin Truex Jr. becomes the 44th different driver to win a pole here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, a proud tradition of racing that started back in 1960.
And you know, we mentioned the fact that he will be moving on to Michael Waltrip Racing in 2010. Only has 3 top 10 finishes in 2009, 0 top 5s. Who knows, maybe they can be the next organization and get their first win in 2009.
And a programming note here, tomorrow night on Speed, a special edition of Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain. He sits down with 14-time drag racing champion John Force.
It was the first time in my career I ever thought about quitting. I didn't know where to go, didn't know how to get up in the morning, didn't know how to go on. We got on the phone, we called NASCAR. I said, what do I do? I don't know where to go. And Helton said, the next thing you do is the same thing we did after we lost Earnhardt. Vince Lombardi said, winning is everything. I live by that. Winning's everything. I don't think he ever lost a man on the playing field. Slapped me. Good man.
Dave Despain just hit him.
He did, smacked him.
Can't believe he did that.
We'll find out if John Force slaps him back at 10 o'clock tomorrow night here on Speed.
That has to be, by far, the funniest man that you can sit down and have a conversation with. And I can't believe how lucky Dave is to get a chance to do an interview like this with him. He's a wild man.
14-time champion.
There's the boys lined up for the Nationwide Series race later on tonight. A lot of the Sprint Cup Series drivers qualifying up there in the top 10. I think actually Trevor Bayne, that 99 car, was the fastest of the non-Sprint Cup Series regulars.
Yeah, they're going to let the rough side drag tonight.
I guarantee you that they had some eel handling cars in their practice sessions and qualifying earlier today.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts on the pole for that race. You see his yellow Degree V12 car, his 10th career pole.
But you know what? I like Larry's point, though. These guys don't have any notes, you know, for a race this time of the year in Atlanta. So it's really going to be a learning curve, not only for the Nationwide Series tonight, but also tomorrow night. It's going to be wild.
They're banking on grip. I hope they're right.
Well, boys, I enjoyed our 7.5 hours together.
Know exactly how Jerry Lewis feels now. Roll